And actually, it was perfect for the talk. Powered by God is what I'm talking about today. But it's also about that middle part of our mission, that we celebrate all paths to God in gratitude, empowering self and others. And how do we empower ourselves? Well, one of the ways is to set an intention like that song. It says, "It's a wonderful life." And to set up ourselves every single day. And so what we're going to start talking about is, how do we do that? Did I do that? Yeah. How do we do that each week? How do we do that each day? How do we set our intention? And it's really powerful to set your intention for your day. I mean, if we think about, in our phrase, we say we celebrate all paths to God. I was thinking about that. Do we really? Yeah. Spirit's intention is to create. That's the whole idea behind the presence, behind the infinite intelligence, that unformed substance that is waiting to become. In the Bible, it talks about it. It says, the Lord's wisdom is what founded the earth. In Egypt, Hermes Trismegistus, long before the Bible was even written, he says that reason, which is another way of talking about the intelligence, says that reason, not hands, made the universe. It was the ideas that brought the universe into form. In Islam, Allah brought the universe into form from that fluid substance. In the Quran, it actually talks about life coming to existence out of water, all living creatures out of water, and the human experience coming out of the clay of the earth, another thing that you form into substance. It's the unformed substance. It's the desire to simply create. In Hindu, they say mind, which is the other way, the creative mind, the intelligence. Mind was compelled to create out of its desire to express itself. So that's what we're all about. We are emanations of those things. We are all those paths coming into expression. And so our whole idea is to create. So why should we not do that from a place of intentionality? In our Declaration of Principles, Dr. Holmes was asked, what do we believe? And he wrote down these principles of what the science mind's about. And one of them, he says that the one, God, the one infinite idea, is manifest in and through all its creations, but is not absorbed by its creation. In other words, even though it makes all of us, there's still more to be made. There's still more to be expressed. There's still more to come out. In a lovely book he's written about called How to Change Your Life, Dr. Holmes says, creation is the play of life upon itself, the action of a limitless imagination upon an infinite law. How sweet is that? A limitless imagination. That's what we have available to us. We can think about anything we want and bring that into reality, into our expression, and then we do that through a law that it's listening, ready to make that happen. I was thinking about intention and how powerful it is, and you don't have to be a religious scientist to put your intentions into action. Maybe sometimes you don't even know you're a religious scientist. It comes to you later in life. I didn't realize that I was a religious scientist, but I'd been practicing these principles long before I knew what they were. I may have told this story before. I'm going to tell it again because I like it. So I'm working in Austin, Texas, with my good friend Rick Brannon, who was my cameraman. And I said to him, Rick, you know what? It's 1984. I just watched the Olympics in Los Angeles, and it was reminded me of how much I loved LA when I was here for elementary school. I said, Rick, next year, I'm going to be working in Los Angeles. And he was my cameraman. He was assigned to me. We did stories all over Central Texas, and he watched me do some of the hardest work I've ever done and some of the first award-winning work I'd ever done. And he says to me, Stephen, he says, you know, you're good. You're one of the best I've ever seen. I mean, you're like maybe Dallas or Houston or Oklahoma City, but I don't know if you'll get to LA next year. I said, I'm going to LA next year. So now it's like September, and I get a call back on the old voicemail machines, and there was a friend of mine named Bill Austin, who was working here in Los Angeles. He says, I just got a job in Phoenix. I'm going to be leaving KTTV. You should call them and ask if they'll want to hire you. Beep. Next message, Dana Milliken, my old executive producer. Bill just quit. You should call Joe Seda and see if he wants to hire you. Beep. Next message, Joe Seda, the vice president of broadcast for KTTV. Steve, if you're interested in calling, I'd be interested in entertaining having you come out here. Yes! 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 Intention! Set! Met! Done! So I go to my boss to take KTBC. At the time, Austin was like the 98th largest market in the country. LA number 2, arguably number 1, depending on how you do the numbers. He says, now it's KTTV, right? It's channel 11. It's not 247. So he says to me, and channel 7, very interestingly enough, channel 7 was like the Lady Bird Johnson owned the station. Lyndon Johnson tweaked the numbers so that ABC and NBC were on 24 and 36. That meant they were UHF. Back in the 70s and 80s, UHF was, as in Arlene's words, it sucked. So Channel 7 had huge audience. And he says to me, you're going to leave the number 1 station in the number 1 market in Texas to go work at a B station in Los Angeles? And I said, yeah. I mean, can't you do the numbers? So he says, well, I'm sorry, but I'm not going to let you out of your contract. You signed a 2-year contract. I went, what? And I went home, and I knew this was my design. This was my intention made manifest. I didn't know those words at that time. Basically, I was just pissed off. So I'm reading this document, and sure enough, it had in there 1st year salary, 2nd year salary. Negotiating the 2nd year would be based on this. And I closed the paper down, and on the front page, it had the term of the contract. And the term of the contract was 1 year. It had ended on September 30th, and it was November 2nd. I was out of a contract. I had been working for a month. They were supposed to tell me 90 days in advance so that they wanted to renew my contract or not. They had not. I walked into Wayne Thomas's office the next day and said, I quit. Goodbye. And I was in Los Angeles in November working at KTTV. Intention. When you set your intention, the universe goes to work to make that happen for you. But you must know it. I knew it with every ounce of my being, I just didn't understand it. But what I understand now is that I'm really grateful for the infinite law. I'm grateful for this unformed imagination that's waiting for my intention to set forth my life, you see. So that's why I want us to start thinking about this as we move into 2019. When you wake up in the morning, what is your intention for that day? What are you calling forth on that day? When you come here to service, what is your intention that you're expecting to get out of the service, you see? If we all come with that, our lives will move with more purpose and more direction. You'll be looking around thinking, I better get here early because there's not enough seats in the place. Because when we set our intention for that, we move in a direction that brings us more harmony and more peace. Because see, that's what this whole idea of creation is all about. When the intention is set, what happens is the universe wants to be in harmony. It wants to be in balance around that intention. It doesn't want dissonance. It wants joy. It wants celebration. It wants love. It wants to empower these ideas. See, we live by agreements, and those agreements are our intentions. But unfortunately, many of us are fast asleep. We're not paying attention. We're too busy being somewhere else. I talked about the other day, you're on your way to the grocery store, but you're already at the grocery store while you're still driving, figuring out what you're going to do after you leave the grocery store, if you're going to get to work on time. Oh, do you have time to stop at the mechanic shop? And you haven't even gotten to the store yet. You're 4 intentions ahead of yourself. We need to wake up and realize that we are a part of a great creative power that's looking for us to express itself more fully. But we get into trouble because we are separate from that. We think that we're something else, that it's 2 powers, but it's 1 power. The power is God. The power is Spirit, manifesting as each and every one of us. And as we align with that, as Maggie was talking about, as we use that conscious power, man, that Science of Mind archives is incredible. 1932, she's talking about, it wasn't Maggie's archives. I felt that. People were like going, she looks good. She has magazines from 1932? No, scienceofmindarchives.org, and you can search for all the magazines all the way back to the very first one. It got Creative Thought magazine too, right? But you see, and be grateful for that. We live in a limitless givingness that's always expecting to give us something. And so do you want us to give it something that's haphazard, that's coming from a mixed message? Or do you want it to give it something that's coming from an intentional, purposive desire being met and manifest by the law that's always listening? So here's the point to remember. As Dr. Holmes says, each person is an incarnation of God, but no single incarnation of God can exhaust the divine nature. That's some powerful stuff right there. You think about that. We cannot exhaust the divine nature. You can take the number 7 and use it a zillion times, and 7 is still 7. It doesn't get tired of doing its sevenness. You know? And that's the same thing about God. It does not get tired of its givingness. You see? So let's put it to the challenge. Let's put the infinite substance to the challenge. Let's put this limited imagination to the challenge. Why hold back? Why not dare God to be greater than it's ever been before by means of you? That's what we get to do as religious scientists. We get to say to the universe, I'm going to do something I've never done before. I'm going to wake up this morning and I'm not going to say that I'm crappy. I'm going to say I am great. And everywhere I go, people are going to say to me, wow, you know, you're really great. Every time you walk into the room, I get something from you that I don't get from anybody else. There's something even before you arrive, just knowing that you're showing up today, I feel better. Why is that? Because you set your intention to be great, to shine a bright light everywhere that you go. See, that's the power that happens. Let's use it without worrying about exhausting it. And one of the things, the reason I started the service today thanking all the folks, Costa and Linda and Gregory and Pat and Gary, who's running 3 cameras today. Wow, you're amazing, Mickey Mouse Santa Claus. Is that one of the things that powers life so much is it's powered by unity. That's why we talk about in our mission statement, empowering self and others, you see. Because there's no one here that got here completely on your own. And if you did, please share with me how you did that, because that's crazy. Nobody. I didn't make these clothes. Amazon delivered these glasses. I don't know where they came from, probably China. You know, I mean, everything that we have has come as a result of working in unison with other people. We're individualized, but our success comes in togetherness. Gallup has been doing some incredible research. Gallup loves doing research. They just gallop along doing more research. One of the things they've discovered is that people who have happy friends are 15% more likely to be happy themselves. So if you have some glum friends, don't get rid of the glum friends. Just go get some happy friends. Your glum friends will be 10% happier because you have happy friends. Gallup research has done that. Did you catch that? See, if you have the happy friend, you're 15% likely to be happier. But if you have a friend who has a happy friend, that happy friend has 10% more. The glum one, he'll get along with it as well. It's kind of like the psychology of the gym. You go to the gym, and there are really, you know, most of us now, we go to the gym, we don't even know the other people at the gym. We put on our headphones, or we watch the TV, and we're sitting on the monitor, and we're doing the thing. But that association, that morality of association, all those other people around you, that helps you to get fit as well, you know? They've shown that people who band together in weight loss programs lose more weight, right? People that band together in working out together gain more muscle, you know? People who band together in spirituality get deeper in their spirituality as we empower ourselves. So it's really important as we think about becoming an intentional community in 2019 to remember that when people support one another, this is from Aliko Chopra's book on living with intent. When people support one another, it creates momentum, it instills confidence, and it inspires action to take the necessary steps to change. Now, I'm happy with my life. Love my life. Love my beloved. She's not here today. I even love the 2 cats. And I'm willing to see things change. I'm willing to see things get better. I'm willing to have more momentum. I'm willing to walk through life with more confidence. And I'm willing to be inspired to take the steps that are necessary to make those changes. Malika Chopra, when she was writing this book and realizing what it was going to take to do it, she got kind of freaked out about all the research. She wanted to research neurology and psychology and do the Gallup research stuff and just really dig deep into what it means to live with intent. She wanted to interview people like Eckhart Tolle and Marianne Williamson, and she wanted to travel around the world and see different people. And she realized, wow, I think I might need some help. But then the ego jumped in, said, no, you can do this. But then something else. Her intention to write a really great book came to the forefront. And she hired somebody. She says, I'm no less a writer because I've hired somebody to help me. She hired someone to help her write the book, and she feels like this is one of the best books she's ever written. It's kind of like I Am the Walrus. People are, even Rob looks like, what? Here it comes. Here it comes. I am he as you are he, and you are me, and we are all together. Right? It's like that. That's how it works. When we're all together, you see, working toward our good, powered by unity, we can get that intentional life working. But I'm telling you now, intentional living, it ain't easy. It ain't easy. It takes attention, and it takes an active engagement in that you want to do. I want to up-level my meditation practice. I want to meditate twice a day. I get up in the morning, decide I'm going to meditate. One of those lovely kitty cats has left me a little surprise on the floor, and I step in it. Okay, there goes that meditative moment. Got to clean this thing up, and then I make my tea, and I knock over my teacup, and oh my God, now I'm gonna lay out the door, and I haven't meditated that morning. And the next day, that night I come home and I make dinner, and I'm thinking I'm 2 steps ahead of myself, like the grocery store thing, and end up burning something. Boy, there goes that meditative moment. It's our intention. Our living life with intention is not easy. It is filled with bumps and potholes and flat tires and detours along the way. But if you stick with it, it does take place. It does begin to happen. I have slowly re-emphasized meditation in my life, and now I'm meditating twice a day, every day, and I'm absolutely loving it, But it took sticking with it and knowing that this intention was going to come forth. I've talked to you a lot about writing my own book. I've made promises up here about writing a book. I have hired a book coach to help me write my book. Right? I read that line and it was interesting. I was drawn to the line that Malika Chopra had in her book, and I was like, I did this actually a month ago before I even read that. I went, she's right. That's helpful, and it has been helpful. You see, when our intention is met, what's happening is it's really a spiritual idea coming to fruition. It's the transitional, the transcendent moment meeting new creation. It's a transcendent moment that meets new creation. And then the law says, whoa, something's happening right here. And it gets involved, you see. And then, boom, life happens. But it takes us. It takes us. There's a wonderful guy named Sean Patrick Flannery. Young fella. I didn't know he was so young. How can he be so young and be so wise? It's so beautiful. He says, do not ask the Lord to guide your footsteps if you're not willing to move your feet. Right? And I love this because, as I said to you before, from a metaphysical perspective, the Lord is not Jesus Christ, right? Jesus the Christ, because Christ is not his last name. He was Jesus of Nazareth. Anyway, the Lord is the lawgiver. So when we see a phrase like this from the science of my perspective, what we're saying is, don't ask the law to guide your footsteps if you're not willing to move your feet. Who does that sound like? Ernest Holmes. Treat and move your feet. You see, this is what we must do. So I had to sit down and set my timer and go, okay, I'm going to do this. And after 21 days, it got easier to do. You have to sit down and do it. I had to sit down and actually call my friend up, who's a great editor and support, and say, would you help me write my book? And she said, yes, that'll be $600. Okay. On it. No problem, Because if you're going to do it, you got to go through the bumps, you got to pass through the potholes, you got to go around the detours, you got to take the flat tires and fix them and pump up with air and get to busy about doing the work, about moving your feet. And the other thing about that is that hiring my friend, she's helped to empower me. And I really believe that what I'm putting together will help to empower others. And that's, again, back to our statement. We celebrate all paths to God. We celebrate all paths to creation. We celebrate all paths to intentionality, making your life work for you. And we also do it empowering others and ourselves, right? Working in community with others. Because when we share a goal, you see, when we support others, it puts more meaning and more purpose into our own lives. And who wants that, right? Don't we all want more meaning, more purpose in our lives? I do, you know? And when we share a goal with another person, then that puts them in the game, you know? And to be in that game, your other person needs to be supportive. And they need to be available. And they need to be reliable. And you need to be reliable and available and supportive, you see? There's a place called the Karma Kitchen. You familiar with the Karma Kitchen idea? You go, you eat, and then you don't pay for your food. But you do leave a tip, and the tip should be what you would anticipate the amount of your food would be. You're actually paying it forward, right? And they had one of those down in Long Beach. I don't know if it's still open. And the Long Beach soccer team would go there and eat. Now, you can imagine how much a soccer team can eat. And they would eat and they wouldn't pay because they didn't have to. It's pay it forward. It's Karma Kitchen. It's free food for them. They came one time, they came two times. On the third time they came, the managers and the owners of the place, they were kind of like, Karma Kitchen, namaste, eat away. Fourth time they came, he says, well, what would you like to eat? Oh, we didn't come to eat. What are you here for? Well, we just noticed that the place needs some paint. This stuff's here crooked. These tables aren't working. They brought tools. They brought paint. They cleaned up. They fixed up the place. You know, because they were experiencing the empowerment that was given to them, and they were passing it forward in the best way that they could. You know, in Living with Intent, Malika Chopra was trying to teach this message to her own children, and she was telling them that if we can do this project, it will help young Vietnamese families to live a better life in America. So they got involved in a project to do that. And what she said from that is that by doing something valuable for other people, I see my own value more clearly. Giving of myself has made me whole. As we begin to empower others, as we begin to support others in their mission, to bring their intentions into reality, because remember, we're all in community here. We're all working together. This unformed, imaginative substance that I'm talking about, this presence that we call God, this spiritual truth that we believe in, does not work without all the other players that are part of it. Just like I was saying, the glasses, the shirts, the clothes, the socks, they all come. You know, I didn't make any of it. You didn't make any of it. The chairs you're sitting on. It's all a result of other people working together. So when you want your intention to come about, it's going to happen because other people are supporting you and because you're supporting other people. If you want to give of yourself so that you can feel more whole, if you want to stand in your power, set your intention. Ask others what is their intention. Maybe something they've said will help you help them to make their dreams a reality. That's what we're talking about. So, we celebrate all paths to God, empowering self and others. And so it is. All right, so let's do our affirmation. Ready? I am standing in my power as an integral part of the many parts expressing as God. Prayer time. Which is kind of just feeling the energy of the world and thinking about what Maggie was mentioning a minute ago about how that prayer works and how so many things seem 1932 and they were talking about things that seem like today. You know, I think that the world is really in a better place. If we look at it, there are more democracies in the world. There are fewer people in extreme poverty than ever before. There are fewer wars in the world, and the wars that are there are interesting. Someone said to me that, there are wars happening in a lot of places, and in many of the places where wars are happening, you can go somewhere in that country where there's not war. And I was thinking about World War II. It was hard to go anywhere in Europe where there was not war. We have changed a lot in our society, but we have a lot more still to change, a lot more still to do. Globally, community, individually. If you're feeling called to move something forward through prayer, if you're feeling called to let that infinite imagination get to work on bringing something into real life, into experience, then this is the time to do that in shared prayer. So if you have someone you'd like to pray for or a condition you'd like to see changed, I invite you to speak that condition into the room, and we will let the unformed substance bring form to it together. Here we are. Patricia, our world leaders, our president, fire. So it is in this moment of shared prayer, of unified consciousness, that I feel the power and the presence of the divine right here and right now, as it is always present. But in this moment, we have lifted the veil of separation. We have moved into unity, and we understand that as our intention to be in that place, that we have put power and focus into our desire. And then we claim something that is already existing. You see, we believe in an infinite intelligence. And if it's infinite, everything that we have asked for, everything that we are thinking of, everything that we are realizing as desire is actually already manifest in that infinity. And so we're just bringing it into our awareness, into our attention, into our lives through the words we speak right now. Recognizing that there is no distance in eternity, there is no distance in infinity, we bring it right now into a finite form, into the lives of those that we have called forth into prayer, bringing right action and divine guidance, bringing healing, bringing the ideas that promote more harmony and more peace, lifting the burdens of those that are feeling downtrodden this day, bringing prosperity into those that are experiencing what looks like lack, bringing homes into those that are experiencing homelessness, bringing health into those that are experiencing disease. We simply know that right now there are people in the world who have set their mind into that healing place, and we're bringing the healing place to the healing need and making it manifest at this time in this space. This is the way the universe works. This is the way community works. This is the way we work as we speak our word into prayer, as we speak our word into the law, with a deep sense of gratitude and an unshakable faith in the power of this teaching that I carry for myself, that I know for each and every one of you. So I release this word into that perfect law and affirm it as good by saying, and so it is. Mm-hmm.